Chapter 17 of the Boy Scouts and the Blue Ridge. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Kenneth Sergeant Gaghan. The Boy Scouts and the Blue Ridge by Herbert Carter. Chapter 17 In Luck Again. Bob was quite as eager as his companion to hurry forward and see what that cry of the girl's voice might mean. Who ever heard of a Southern boy unwilling to act in similar circumstances? The two of them had noted the quarter from whence the shrill scream came, and were making a bee-line for it as fast as the rough nature of the ground permitted. "Keep back thar, you ugly critter! Don't you dare jump at me! Oh, if I could only git my free, I'd show you!" they heard just beyond the fringe of the bushes. Bursting through these, and the scene lay before them. It was a girl, a real mountain girl too, who called out. She was bent half over, as though trying all her might to wrench her foot free, for it seemed to be caught in a crevice of the rock, as in a vice. Not 10 feet away from her crouched an ugly wildcat. Its ears were bent backward toward its body. The yellow eyes seemed to glow with an angry fire, and there can be no doubt but the animal was getting ready to jump at the girl, possibly angered by the red sunbonnet she wore. She had managed to pick up a stone, with which she was ready to do battle in case the cat really attacked her. Tad saw this, and admired her grit, even though he believed that she would have suffered dreadfully had the fight ever come off. Bob gave a cry of rage as he saw what it all meant. He too snatched up a stone, and made directly for the wildcat, as though such a thing as fear did not enter into his calculations. And Thad, a little wiser, seeing an excellent club handy, made out to get that in his grip and follow his chum. Despite the coming of these two enemies, the wildcat showed no sign of beating a retreat. There may have been some reason for this unexpected bravery on the animal's part. Usually, though, it is only when darkness comes that bobcats are dangerous, and in the daytime they will generally retreat before the coming of human foes. There must have been some kitten somewhere close by, and a mother cat will attack anything that moves in defense of her offspring. But just then Thad was not bothering himself with trying to understand why the fierce beast acted in though an altogether remarkable way. What they wanted to do was to influence the animal to leave the neighborhood, and the quicker this was done, the better they would be pleased. "Go slow, Bob," Thad called out, fearful that his impulsive comrade dash up so close that in another instant the cat would be upon him, clawing, biting, and doing all manner of damage. He swung his club in a ferocious manner as he could, and made all sorts of threatening gestures as he rushed forward, thinking that if they approached from two separate quarters, the beast might grow more or less confused, and possibly sink away. Thad did not follow directly in the tracks of his friends, but made a little detour. Bob came to a pause. He was not more than a dozen feet away from the beast now, and there was danger that if he closed in any more, the expected collision must take place. Thad saw him draw back his arm. Undoubtedly Bob meant to hurl the heavy rock he had snatched up. If he missed his aim, he would be then entirely unprotected. But then Bob had pitched on a baseball team several seasons, and was said to have a very clever delivery, and with the faculty of getting the ball over the rubber with clock-like precision. And a crouching wildcat, only a dozen feet away, is a large enough object to be counted a sure thing by an experienced ball player. So even as Thad looked and wondered, he saw Bob let drive, and when the rock actually struck the cat between the glaring eyes, hurling it over backwards, Thad could not help but letting out a yell. "Good shot, Bob!" he cried. "Get another quick, for he's coming at you like hot cakes." He himself was closing in on the cat all the time. He shouted after his manner, and in another moment they were all in a confused bunch, the enraged and wounded wildcat screaming and snarling, Thad pounding away every chance he got, Bob kicking wildly at the animal as he looked for a chance to get another rock, and the whole made quite a lively circus. Several times Thad landed with such a will on the side of the springing wildcat that the wretched beast was knocked clean over. But with a desperation that was simply astonishing, it would get together and come flying back again, as though it really possessed the 9 lives its tribe is given credit for. Of course this could not last long. The game was too one-sided, with 2 against 1, and in the end the cat was glad to jump into the bushes with a parting expression of hatred in the form of a snarl. The panting boys stood and looked at each other. Each of them had a few rents in their khaki trousers, and it might have been severe or even worse, only that their puttees protected the lower part of their limbs. "Phew, that was a hot time!" gasped Thad. "Did you see how many times I bowled the thing over, only have it to defend myself again? Give me a mad wildcat for gameness. They haven't their equal going, pound for pound. And I hit him when I threw that stone. I'm proud of that shot," declared the Southern boy with a grim smile. "Say, it was right smart throw, all right, but suppose you come and help me out of this trap now, strangers," came from the mountain girl. As they turned toward her and advanced, Thad saw immediately that she was not like little Bertha, whom he had looked upon sitting beside Reuben Sparks, with her golden hair, seeming very much like a fairy. The girl was slender, with coarse black hair. She was garbed in common homespun clothes, and wore shoes that were doubtless much too large for her feet. On one of her ankles she had caught tightly in the crevice of the rock. She might have managed to extricate herself if given a little time, but the sudden appearance of that ugly fighting wildcat upset her so that she had twisted and squirmed until her foot was held as though in a blacksmith's vise. Bob, in his usual impetuous way, might have been impelled to tug at the imprisoned foot and add to her suffering. But Thad, who was cooler, sat about discovering just how it was gripped. Then, as gently as he could, he gave it a sudden turn, and the whole thing was done. The girl uttered a little scream as the pain shot through her ankle, but then she realized that the way the boy had gone about it was the right one. Results count every time. When a man succeeds, the path he has taken is looked upon as a shining example of the rising generation. But should he fail, the same route is pointed out as beset with unsurmountable difficulties. "I'm glad you come along in time," the girl remarked, as her black eyes scanned the faces of the 2 boys who had done her such a good turn. "Have you done anything to the cat, or was it just crazy for a fight?" asked Bob, as he looked more closely at the angular girl, and Thad thought he could detect that in his manner to tell he might have recognized her. "'Pears like it was just brim full of scrap, mister," she went on. "I was a comin' down the side o' the mountain, payin' attention to my own business, when I just made a fool of myself. Look, you see here, I got my foot caught between the rocks. Then the critters showed up, and started making a row. I tried I knowed how to break loose, but it was no go, and I was just angry to hit the animal between the eyes, and it jumped at me when you arrived. But I'm glad you come. 'Tain't nice to get your face all clawed to ribbons by cat's claws. Yep, I'm glad you helped me out." Thad saw that she was a character, this little girl of the Blue Ridge. Rough and uncouth she might be, she still possessed the qualities that real heroines once made out in the days of Joan of Arc. Doubtless she must be the daughter of one of the poor white trash mountaineers, who spend their time between making moonshine whiskey and dodging revenue men. It struck Thad at that moment that perhaps, since they'd been able to do her a good turn, she might be willing to assist them. Such as the girl ought to know a good deal of what was going on the back of the mountains. Our people must talk about the strange things that happen. Perhaps she might be able to tell Bob something about the prisoner who was said to be kept there working at the sour mash and the never-rated still of Phin Dady. With this bright idea in mind, Thad decided that fortune indeed played another nice trick upon them, and one that would perhaps be to their advantage. "Do you live near here, and will you be able to limp home?" he asked, for he saw that the ankle was somewhat swollen, and must pain more or less, although the girl scorned to show it by her manner. "Right smart ways off from here, stranger," she replied. "But then There be some of my friends nearby who'll take care of me. You sure did hit up on that ornery cat, handsome, and I sure think it won't be taking a poor girl the next time it sees one. Perhaps we might help you along to your home of your friends," said Thad. She looked at him keenly, for even the daughters of moonshiners grow to be suspicious of those whom they don't know. "'Tain't no need, stranger. I kin take care of myself. I reckon not that I'm feelin' 'bliged to yer for offerin'. I can't forget that you done me a good turn. Maybe I ain't good lookin' like the little cousin of yours, Bob Quail, but it's the only face I'll ever have, and no gal like to be scratched and gorged bad by the poisoned claws of a wildcat." "Will you tell your father about this, Polly?" asked Bob, excitedly. Thad thought. "'Pears like I hadn't ought to keep it from him," she replied, slowly, watching the expression and the handsome face of the young Southerner closely. "Them that don't think Phin Dady keers for his family, but they don't know. Reckon he just about laid down his life for me, poor looker as I am." Thad drew a big breath. Really, things were rushing forward by leaps and bounds now, for not only had the girl recognized his companion, who wished to keep his identity under cover while in the mountains, but this same Polly, as Bob called her, had now disclosed to be the daughter of the old moonshiner, Phin Dady. End of chapter 17. Recording by Kenneth Sergeant Gaghan.